guys, you know what time it is. It's your boy David at the Irish Hotspur, Ireland's #1 Spurs fan. And today we are bringing you the player ratings from yesterday's brilliant 3-1 win at home to Leicester. Jack, how are you keeping, my man?
Keeping pretty good, Dave. It's kind of, a bit difficult to still kind of wrap our head around the performance. Like the question I asked Sean yesterday was, did Leicester try to maybe what the other teams have done to us to stifle us? Did they just play their own game? And, like a lot of other teams, fallen victim just to our sheer class up front. It's kind of hard to make sense of it, but definitely some good performances to talk about today. Looking forward to it.
No, look, it's definitely, for me, look, I maintain what I say, Jack, that it was down to players' effort the last two games before the Leicester game rather than tactics. You look, again, I'm backed up by we were outside the top four, and look at the performance we put in. Now, look, no doubt, Jack, we'll get into it tomorrow, that it does come down to that their tactics weren't to stifle us. They were just playing there the way they normally play, and that they're like, it suited us and stuff like that. But a lot of it does come down to how quickly we moved the ball yesterday. I mean, if we just started moving it slow like we were in the last two games, we would have had another one of them games. But look, Let's get into these player ratings, lad. Let's start off with Hugo Lloris.
With Hugo here, Dave, we're gone for sixes. I feel like he actually had a lot to do, if I recall, maybe in the first half, more than really the second half. At the end of the day, though, I don't think really Leicester even had any big chances at all, even created whatsoever. There was that one that smacked, right off the post, I do remember, but that from a Patson Daka, I believe, kind of shot, and he did actually save it, where he did touch it onto the post. So that kind of, for me, was almost considering giving him kind of a 7. But at the end of the day, I don't know, like his distribution lets him down a lot. I feel like sometimes we really don't look, we kind of look past that. And I feel like that does, hurt us in plenty of moments. And I do expect that sometimes to maybe even hurt us against teams like Liverpool. I don't know, Dave. It was like maybe he had a bit to do in the beginning, but for the rest of the game, not a lot to do. And even the shot that came from Iheanacho, I don't really think he could have done much about it. It actually was a really good shot. So just going to give him a 6.
Yeah, look, for me, I don't think he had too much to do at all. I agree with you about the distribution. I think there was a couple of clips in the game that will back you up from that about his poor distribution. Look, I think 6 is fair. Look, didn't get out with the clean sheet. I'll have to go back and watch the goal. I do think, when I seen it, I did think it was just a good finish from Iheanacho. But yeah, I think 6 is fair, Jack. I don't think he was overly tested yesterday, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Let's move on then to kind of the center backs here. And with the center backs, might as well start with the one that's probably the most fun to talk about here, Christian Romero. Some people's man of the match, actually, in fact, for this one, for that second goal, which was the all-crucial goal at the end of the day, came from Christian Romero's unbelievable tackle there, or actually pair of tackles, getting stuck in twice, was making the passes yet again. We spoke about this on Stats with Jack, making the passes that no center back in our team really does make. He tries to actually open the game up a bit more. He takes more risks on the ball. He tries to, maybe make those dangerous passes that normally you would expect your center mid to, but Christian Romero is the guy capable of doing it. Something that I probably would like to see Eric Dier maybe do a bit more of. We'll probably talk about that a bit later. Christian Romero, an unbelievable performance, and was just getting stuck in all over the pitch. Really marshaled, that defense really well, but was easily also probably our best in possession. I actually thought it was almost a better performance from him maybe going forward, Dave, than it even was defensively, because I would say, and if I do remember my commentary when I was watching the game alongside you yesterday, was Christian Romero, I thought, wasn't really the best in the first 15, 20-ish minutes in my eyes. I actually thought Patson Daka was getting, a lot of space. And there was even a few moments as well where Christian did look, for what we know him to be, a bit shaky. He had at one stage, there's a cross that went along, his went, right across him. He was just a bit, imbalanced, kind of fell over, then had kind of a bad clearance at one stage. Kind of really nitpicky sort of things. But I just do remember, me kind of, saying that during the watch long. I thought, Christian Romero wasn't really having, the best 20 minutes that I recall. But still, after that, Dave, easily the best defender. I mean, no question. And obviously did a lot to, get the team going, and played a huge part in that second goal. So I think a 9 is completely fair.
Yeah, look,
just figured I'd throw in that part about the first 20 minutes because I don't think it was spoken about, I guess, maybe a bit.
No, look, 100%. Look, first 20 minutes, we were sort of under the first 5 minutes was all Tottenham. Then after that, for the next 15 up until about 20, 25 minutes, we were a slight bit we were under the cosh. Leicester were starting to take control of the game. But Jack, just a couple of things on Romero. Look, stuff that I've always spoke about. You know, we at Tottenham, we've always wanted us to play out from the back. And I've always said, that's well and good, but you need the defenders that are confident on the ball and cool under composure to be able to play out from the back. Bringing this guy in this summer is the exact reason why we are able to play out from the back now into midfield, into the forward line, rather than going route one like we were with Dier and Davies back last season under Jose and even under Nuno at times, you know, or even under Conte at times when Romero was out injured. We put Sanchez there. We just could not play out from the back. We just go on route one. And this guy completely changes that. Second thing, Jack, is how proactive he is about going about defending. The likes of Dier, Davies, I've always said they're reactionary. They wait for things to happen and then react to it. Romero doesn't. Romero reads the game, sees things, and goes about affecting the game and stopping things at the source. And what I love about this guy, Jack, I mean, yesterday I can count off the top of my head 4 or 5 times where this guy went sliding in. And I mean, when was the last time we've seen players do that? Slide in with intent to not only take the ball, but take the man as well and make sure that he knows he's there. This guy is absolutely... I actually tweeted him last night, Jack. I said, thank you for getting me excited about defending. He is getting people excited about defending.
You're right.
You look at the two tackles in the build-up for the goal. Dier, Sanchez, or Davies, or even Roden, any of the other centre-backs we have, will not make them challenges. They might make the first one, but they wouldn't get up and go for the second one with the intensity and the aggression that he did. And we got the rewards off that, and we went and got the second goal. But all round, even at times, there was stuff coming into the box. For me, I thought at times he was the only one that was kind of in the right position to be able to deal with it and stuff like that. But what I love most about the guy is just how calm he is on the ball. Whether it's passing out, whether it's skinning players, he's got it all. And that's why I said to people, I'm not waiting for him to be picked up by any of the big elite clubs around Europe, the likes of Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Barcelona, teams like that, or Juve, to tell me that this guy is world class. He is world class.
Completely agree, Dave. Completely agree there. Moving on to Eric Dier. 6s from us here. Eric, I don't know, Dave. It was just... didn't really have any huge defensive errors that I can actually really recall, but another poor day, I thought, in possession. Another poor day, I thought, in terms of, you know, trying to dictate the game, trying to move the ball a bit more. I just personally thought, Dave, it was just average from Eric Dier, if not maybe worse than that. If you ask me, I don't really know how to summarize it really better than that. I just don't think he really did anything that spectacular. He played a few good passes, then would, you know, play a pass that was just short or a bit of a hospital, or also just made a poor touch at times. Also, like always, Dave sometimes just dwells on the ball a bit too much. But then again, I don't really recall like anything that he really made a huge mistake that led to a chance or anything, if I'm remembering correctly, unless you'll maybe say something. But I don't know, Dave. Average performance from Moon Boots. I don't really think you could say much better than that.
No, look, for me, I think, he looked a bit ropey all game long. If Leicester were going to score, it was going to be down between him and Davies. That's the only way they were going to score against us, I felt. I even felt they probably could have... Look, I know the goal was Winch's fault, but I felt one of them could have stepped out. I felt one of them could have maybe done more to not let Ian Atchell get that shot at goal. But Jack, at one stage, I remember
there were a few people responsible. Yeah. Sorry.
And I remember at one stage, lad, that, you know, there was... all he has to do is take a touch, get the ball under control, and he just balloons it into the stands. And I'm like,
I remember that.
We want to go for top 4, and this guy is panicking. We're winning the game, and this guy's panicking. You know, where's your composure? But Jack, I said something yesterday. I'm not sure whether people agree with me, and I would like people to get in the comments and let me know. But Dier hasn't played this amount of games in years. This amount of games back to back to back to back. And I think he's starting to look tired now. I really do. Yeah. I've said it over the last couple of games, even the way he's just being so slow on the ball and everything else. I think the season has started to take its toll on him.
I mean, you could even just quickly make that case that happened under Jose, right? Where Dier had a good run of form under Jose. When it hit October, all of a sudden, you know, he couldn't really handle the pressure, you know, really anymore. or really November is probably what you say is when he couldn't really handle the pressure. And maybe now this time, Dave, it's happening a bit later, in the season. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Moving on to Ben Davies. I've given him a 6. David's given him a 5. I don't really know what else I can add, or I think all the same descriptions I gave for Dier, I would sort of give for Davies, and kind of like what David said, just kind of consistently ropey throughout the match. But I think I'll let David go first here because I don't really know what more I can add, and maybe I'll just bounce off of him. Dave, why have you given him why have you given him a 5 instead of a 6 when you gave Dier a 6?
I thought it was one of his worst games this season, to be honest with you, Jack.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
Look, the reason why I've given him a 5 is because it's something I've spoke about for a long time now. And it's doing stuff at walking pace, not doing stuff, not being on your toes, ready to receive a ball. I don't know if you can remember, but I think it was Momo Show was the first half. I remember saying to you that someone played a bad pass, and I was like, I don't like this, because it's going to be compiled by mistake after mistake after mistake. And we've seen that. Someone else played a bad pass, and then a couple of minutes later, Dier went to play a pass to Davies across the back. And Davies just flat-footed. And because he's flat-footed, they nearly get a chance out of it. I think they actually do get a chance out of it. And that's because he's flat-footed. If you're on your toes, that doesn't happen. And it just comes down to the basics, the switching off. And time and time again, I've seen with Davies, I go back to the Wolves game last year, under Jose Mourinho, played 87 minutes, fantastic, switches off from the corner, lets his man get the header, and we lose the game. It's just moments like that. We didn't get punished yesterday, but it's moments like that, Jack, that cannot continue. That's the reason why we lost to Brighton and we don't have an extra point on the board. And I can pick out more throughout the season from these two. It's not good enough. They can have good games, but it's when they switch off, it usually costs us. And he could have cost us yesterday. He could have turned that game into a complete different game just by not doing the basics, what you're taught as a 5-year-old, which is be on your toes and be ready to receive the ball.
Yeah, I completely agree, Dave. I completely agree. I didn't really notice. Maybe I just, was a bit distracted by, helping out with Nick and everything. So maybe I just didn't notice that it was one of the worst performances from Davies in the back. I certainly didn't think it was good, but I'll definitely have to take a look at that, especially when we break down the tactics tomorrow, everybody. Another way to plug it again. But moving on to Emerson here, 7s from David and I. And I think we even consistently were saying throughout the game, Dave, that people do not get on Emerson's back, because this is one of those rare times that I don't even know if it's rare, because you could say this a lot about Emerson this season. He'll put in a good performance and then he'll just put in an absolute howler the next one, and it seems like that's been sort of the story of his season, Dave, because there have been a few occasions when he's been close to the man of the match. There have been plenty of occasions when we've given him this rating of a 7. I thought he was sort of a bit average in possession, but not worse than average like we usually expect him to be. I don't really remember him in any case, Dave, like playing an absolute shocker of a pass or, giving away the ball in a really bad area or anything. I actually even recall him at some stage even helping out, a bit in kind of the creative work. He wasn't, so dead on the ball like sometimes he can be. Not saying that it's almost like a bit, I don't know, Dave, maybe we're just being a bit, disingenuous, because he really is pretty shocking on the ball regardless, but it was better than what we're used to. And yeah, I don't really know how to put it any other way. I think it was just better than what we're used to from Emerson. And so I've given it a 7. And you solid defensively. I think that's maybe what I'm missing as well. Solid defensively.
Yeah, look, I think there was one time in the first half he got twisted inside out. And then after that, he just grew into the game. Look, I actually think it was an average performance. Like, it's the bare minimum we should kind of expect. But because he's been so bad, it looks like he had a good performance.
On the Emerson scale, like I said, on the Emerson scale.
To be fair to the guy, I was saying, like, it's all well and good, easy calling for him to be dropped because he's not doing anything going forward. But the last few weeks, he's the one being winning the balls from corner kicks and set pieces and stuff. So he was always going to retain his place because Conte will make sure that defense that defense is sorted out first before he builds on the attack. The way he sees it is, get my backline sorted out from set pieces, from play, open play, etc. And then I rely on the likes of Son, Kane, and Kulu to go and win me the game. So that's why Emerson keeps retaining his place, even though he's not good enough on the ball. But yesterday, Jack, he was actually decent on the ball. I remember at one stage, he took the ball into the midfield, bet 2 players and won a free kick. And I think Sean was giving out about it. And I was saying, look, Sean, I don't mind it because it's what I've asked for. Rather than passing it
Yeah.
backwards or sideways to someone and putting them in trouble, take responsibility and go and beat somebody. And that's what he done, Jack. I remember countless of times you were doing your famous, Emerson bombing down.
Fair.
And
Good
to
point.
be fair, he even grew into the game that much that at one stage he shouldered the ball out to somebody out wide. I mean, that's how much he grew
Yeah,
into
he
the
was
game.
playing with confidence. He was
Yeah,
playing with confidence, that's for sure.
second half, I actually thought he was. I thought he was a lot better second half than he was first half. But look, it wasn't his worst performance by any stretch of the imagination.
No, that's a great way to put it, Dave. So well deserving of a 7 then. Similar score, 7s here from for Sessegnon. When you really then compare everything that we just said about Emerson, it's kind of hard for me, Dave, to really say how much more Sessegnon exactly did. Because on the ball, you could say, right, he always has a tiny bit more quality. But there were times, Dave, when you and I were even saying, like Sessegnon, just get rid of it a bit quicker, please. Like let's show again, a bit more urgency. There were times when he even was, I don't know, Dave, he had a pretty embarrassing fall. I remember at one stage when he received the ball, like he has these moments where I'm kind of questioning, like he seems like more of a left back than he does a left wing back, when he picks up the ball for me. But I don't know. I think he was still plenty solid. I don't think he had to deal with nearly as much defensively, but didn't really do anything too wrong in possession. Sort of put himself in the right areas, I think, to make something happen, going forward. Didn't exactly do anything significant, I would say, going forward. But I don't know. Again, like a solid average performance, I guess, is another. Yeah.
Yeah, look, he did have a bit of troubles down that side at times with Albrighton and that coming down that side. But Jack, again, I thought, in fairness to the guy, I thought he was better going forward than what he was last week. Again, at times I asked
Yeah.
this man, he done that. He put in some crosses. I asked him to be more responsible on the ball, which he was. Look, again, was nowhere near his best performance, but nowhere near his worst, and it's an improvement on the week before.
No, that's a really good way to put it, I think, Dave. That's probably why he's deserving of a 7. It's kind of similar, sentiment to Emerson. Better than last week's performance. Give him a break maybe this time around. Bentancur, again, this is kind of funny because I think with Bentancur, maybe we just judge him a bit more harshly, Dave, at the end of the day, because we know what he is capable of. And I think this was, a worthy of a 7. There were a few occasions I actually remember him getting stuck in really crucial moments or making kind of recoveries in really crucial moments. There weren't any. And a yellow card, yeah. There weren't any exceptional passes that I really recall from the guy, though, to be fair. There were a few occasions, though, when I definitely saw him, Dave, when he was carrying the ball, he was doing it with actually a lot of kind of power and, urgency as well, which is always good to see. He wasn't kind of, gallivanting across, Dave. He's just, powering, kind of right through the midfield at times, carrying the ball, which is what we like to see as well. But 7 for me from Bentancur.
Yeah, first of all, I agree with you. Look, I judge him off the Bentancur that I was seeing for the first 5-6 weeks when he came in here. That's what I'm comparing him to now. That's the standards that he set. But you know what, Jack? Yesterday I thought he actually worked incredibly hard, which is maybe something off the ball, which is maybe something we haven't seen from him over the last while. And even Hojbjerg, I thought our two midfielders worked incredibly hard yesterday, to be honest with you. Look, I think Hojbjerg had a better game, which we'll get onto. But Bentancur worked very hard off the ball. He was getting stuck in. He was tracking back. And on the ball, even though he didn't really play any sort of like worldy passes, I don't really remember him losing the ball. And, for me, I think he had a decent game. I fear that when I go back and rewatch the game and stuff like that for the tactical breakdown, that I could end up having to bump up his rating a little. But from what I can remember, I think 7 is a fair rate, and I thought all around he had a good day.
Yeah, I really think that's a great way to put it, Dave. It's just all around a good day from him. But we do know what he's capable of, and we know he's capable of a bit more. We know he's capable of being absolute classic quality on a day. And I think he was just solid and dependable and worked extremely hard, which is, again, all that you can ask for. And he still brings a bit of quality, of course, as well. But moving on to the player that we thought, again, has had probably a better midfield display on the day was Hojbjerg. I think what maybe separated Hojbjerg from Bentancur this day, Dave, was that Hojbjerg was playing, I thought, with an extreme amount of confidence. It was the Hojbjerg Genio that I think we sometimes see. I mean, there were certain back heels that I saw him making. He would be playing, outside the foot, kind of spraying passes. He was, playing balls over the top. When he saw it, any single run that someone made, it felt like Hojbjerg found them. He was also, playing people inside, the pitch as well. So he wasn't just switching it out wide every time, or playing it sideways. He was definitely playing the passes into the players as well, to feet. Getting stuck in. There were numerous times when we thought it was someone else, and we realized that player getting stuck in was Hojbjerg. And he probably, I think, at one stage, I think 2 different occasions, Dave, he was the furthest forward. And probably if he actually had the same quality of touch or, maybe intelligence that he had in other parts of the game, probably could have actually had a goal and an assist when you really look at it as well. So I think a solid performance. I actually think this could have been better than an 8 had he maybe done better with some of the chances that I think he actually had, like some of those half chances that he had. He probably could have had a 9.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, I remember there was a ball played across by Kuluszewski on his right foot. I think
Right.
that was Hojbjerg on the
Yeah.
receiving end. There was another one where he's on the edge of the box and he just didn't trust his left foot and he kind of went for a pass into Sonny and it was over. Done better in them situations, could have easily been bumped up to a 9. But you know what, Jack? I mean, I went into yesterday's game. I asked them, where's the leaders? And although Son, Kane, Kulu, players like that, yes, they affected the game and end up having brilliant games. I thought one person that brought the standards from minute 1 to minute 90 was Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg. Done all the basics correctly. For me, I looked at him from minute 1, I knew he was up for it. And Jack, he was unbelievable in the defensive side of the game. The amount of times he was back there tackling, getting these important touches to get the ball away from Leicester players and stuff like that. But then on the ball, he was sublime. The confidence was running through him. I thought he was very good on the ball yesterday. I thought he looked confident, but he's a real leader in this team, in this dressing room.
Yeah.
When you're going into a game and you're after having 1 loss, 1 draw against teams that you really should have picked up 6 points, it's very easy to go into that game sort of down and deflate. But from minute 1, he just done the basics, done the right things, and looked composed out there. And that then ended up filtering through to the rest of the teams. At times, I've seen him bollocking people. It's like, it's not good enough. You got to be better. I just think he dragged this team from minute 1 to minute 90 right through the game with how all action packed his performance was defensively and going forward, Jack.
I think he's shown that he's probably wanted it more than most of these players the past few games, if you're going to be honest. You really look at all these performances recently. He's, again, stood out. Like, if we hadn't lost or dropped points, you probably would have given Hojbjerg again 8s, maybe more, or something. Probably, again, if we had won these games, Dave, previously, he'd be getting 8s, I think, from it. If we had
our 4 best chances from them 2 games, didn't he?
there you go. And there you go. So in fact, maybe if those chances had maybe gone in or done better, we'd probably be looking at 9. So really, Hojbjerg at the end of the day, we'd probably say he's actually been maybe the most consistent performer. I don't know if he's been the best performer in each of those games, but been the most consistent across maybe the past 4 games. Is probably what I would say. And I think he's maybe even, I don't know, maybe the Bentancur is just, that right competitive edge that he needs. I'm not sure. Maybe he just wants top 4 that bad, Dave. Maybe he just wants top 4 that bad. Maybe he just wants it more than maybe some of the others.
No, look, I definitely think there's an element to it. I mean, Jack, this is a guy, correct me if I'm wrong, I actually think he won I'm not sure whether it was a Champions League or not, but I think he might have won one with them before, or else he definitely won leagues with Bayern Munich before. He's been out of it for years. He's been with Southampton, and if anybody wants to be back there, it's definitely him. He's coming into the prime of his career now, Jack, and he will want to be playing Champions League football. And you can tell over the last 2 games where things, before this game, where things didn't go well, he was probably one of the standout performers. And then he steps up again today from minute 1 to minute 90, all action packed. And he's just dragging people through with him. And long may it continue for the next few games because we're going to need him. And look, no doubt Bentancur really aids him and helps him because if you go back to when he was in there beside Harry Winks, he was doing all these same things. But when you don't have a midfield partner, you're doing it on your own, and it's harder. So Bentancur definitely aids them, and they've struck up a good partnership. But Jack, that's what centre midfield is all about: having a partnership where the other person's strengths covers the other person's weaknesses, and that's what it's about.
Absolutely. Lucas here. I mean, I don't know if you could say dreadful, but almost close to that, like pretty woeful at least, and just pretty below average. If I would probably argue. I think the biggest criticism we pointed out here, Dave, is he wasn't doing even what we want Lucas to do. Like, you can't always criticize Lucas for the things that we know he can't do. We do know he's a limited player, in certain regards. He can't always play that killer of a pass, can't always, pick his head up in the right moments. But what he does bring, obviously, is that sort of, injection of, kind of just craziness into the game. He'll just beat 3 or 4 players, and then all of a sudden, you're 3-on-1, with the center back, and, he'll just slide Sonny through. And then you're like, how did he end up doing that? Why doesn't he do that more often? And that's what we always say about Lucas. He'll end up doing something that we kind of say, why doesn't he just do that more often? He didn't even do that, I feel like, for us this game, Dave. Didn't even have any surging runs. Didn't even have any moments where he's just skinning man after man after man like an absolute madman. He gave the ball away in some pretty bad areas as well. Just poor, I thought, from him. Just poor. Also, didn't even nearly work as hard as I usually expect him to as well, I must say.
Yeah, look, Jack, for me, I've got just a small couple of things to say on this. Look, if I'm one of them players and I'm on the Spurs bench and I haven't started a game in God knows how long, I mean, I'm making sure I'm ready and I'm ready to go. And that when I go out there, I'm going to do exactly what this team needs. I'm going to look over the last couple of games, see what's been missing. I'm going to go out there and produce. I'm going to do everything I can. I'm going to take my chance. We're not seeing this from players off the bench or players that are being brought in to start. Lucas was brought in yesterday to get on the ball and run at players. Run at that young lad, Thomas. He didn't want to do it, Jack. And then when he did, he was just running into blind alleys. It's just poor decision making on the ball. Talk very, very sloppy. I think the best thing you could probably pick out from it is him tracking back. He done some good tracking back, but that's it. But that's not what he's in the team to do. He's in the team to create, to be a provider, offer us that different option to Kulu, that get on the ball and drive at them. That's what you're brought into the team to do. Because over the last couple of games, Kulu has been isolated and he hasn't really wanted to drive by his player. And that's what I felt Lucas was brought in to do and just didn't want to do it. I was calling for him to be brought off at half-time. And it wasn't long after half-time. I think it was 5-10 minutes after half-time. He was hauled off because he had some poor touch up in the corner and that was it. Hauled off. It's just poor. It's not good enough. Too many times at Tottenham have I seen certain players from this squad, maybe not so much Lucas, but I want to play. Okay, it's all good saying the right things that you want to play, but what are you going to do when you play? Show me what you can do when you play. I don't want to hear about stuff in the press. I want to see actions on the pitch. Too many times over the last 2 years, 3 years at this club, even after Zagreb and everything else, the North London Derby after that, players out in the press saying the right things. Don't want to hear it. Do it on the football pitch, and Lucas just did not deliver. But Jack, he's been like this since the last time he played Leicester. He's been in this slump for far too long, and yes, he works hard, but that should be the minimum of any player that comes into Tottenham Hotspur. You shouldn't have to praise them for it.
No, really well said there, Dave. Really well said.
Sorry, just quickly, there was a couple of times now I did feel a bit sorry for him because Kane probably could have turned to the right and slid him in, but Kane looked at him and said, his first touch is crap, so I'm going to go to Sonny because 95% out of the time I give it to Sonny, we will get something out of it, whether it be a shot or him passing off to someone else to have a shot, whatever else. But if I go down to Lucas's side, there's 50% that ball's going back. So I can understand that as well. It's up to Lucas to have to get players like Kane and Son to have to trust in him to feed them. If they don't feed him, that tells me everything I need to know. They do not trust him.
Yeah, and I think maybe Kane just can probably tell, by the first 10 minutes whether Lucas is having, a good game or not, and maybe that's what it probably was. Sonny here, you really look at it like, yes, Christian Romero, man of the match from the defensive, side of things, but then Sonny again, something kind of similar, I think, to Aston Villa in terms of how ruthless he can really be in certain moments. I think actually when you look at it, 2 goals and an assist, 3 goal contributions, he contributed to all 3. I don't know if you could say a 10. I think I really want to say a 9.5, but we don't do 9.5s or, 0.5s around here, Dave. So I would lower it down to a 9. But I don't know if we did do a 0.5, I think I would give it a 9.5 just because he ended up giving the cross, for that Harry Kane goal as well. So he played a hand in that. And played a hand in all 3 goals. The second goal, I think, was Sean's favorite over the third, both exceptional finishes with the left foot as well. He actually played again, lots of, areas. It wasn't just him being a brutal finisher, but I think as well, Dave, there are lots of times, like I actually saw maybe against Brentford, that kind of link up play that he does. He has a really good kind of one touch, kind of flick ons, I think now. I don't really feel like he had that to his game really before as much. And now he's doing these kind of one touch back heel flick ons to kind of get moves going a bit quicker. And it's something that I'm really liking about Sonny's game. I feel like he's added. I don't know. I just don't really notice him doing that as much. Maybe because when you're out in the left wing, you don't really get that opportunity as much as usually when you're playing a bit more centrally. Second goal, Dave, of his was probably the best goal of the season. You could probably say in the Premier League, maybe when you look at it as well. Yeah, Dave, a worldie of a performance, you could say, from Sonny. Maybe to the doubters out there, a world-class performance, you could probably even say.
Absolutely world-class. Look, Jack, this is a player that's just grown and grown in confidence. Sun fans are actually going to be surprised, but I actually do want to change his rating to a 10. Look, he got another corner kick with the assist for Kane's goal, and then his 2 goals. He ends the game with an assist and 2 goals. And if anybody on the pitch done enough for Tottenham to go and win that game, for me, it's him. Look, I think you took the words right out of my mouth in the watch long, and I was thinking the exact same thing. That when that ball was played to him by I think it was Kuluszewski for the first goal, the way he let it roll across his body, completely done Albright and completely done Kasper Schmeichel. That is unbelievable, the awareness to have, because he knows if he takes a touch and swivels on his right, Albrighton's already there. But the fact he lets it roll across his body and turns and puts it on the left, he takes them out and he creates and opens up that space for him. Yeah. Because his back was to goal. And then you look at the second goal. I mean, he's just standing there waiting. Kuluszewski, quick pass to Son, one touch, head up, boom, top corner. And then on his supposedly weaker foot, I mean, I've heard of just swinging a peg at it. That's what usually people do on the weaker foot, just swing at it and hope for the best. But that's not hoping for the best. On your weaker foot,
it's De Bruyne-esque when you really think about it, right? Because De Bruyne is the only other player I really can think of, maybe in the Premier League, that can hit one from 20, 25 yards, with his left foot, and be able to, knock past the keeper, Dave. It's kind of De Bruyne-esque when you really even think about it.
No, but like to hit one as sweet on your left foot as he did against Arsenal on his right foot, that's absolutely unbelievable. And for me, I thought he was a live wire all day, energetic, looking to get on the ball and looking to be positive as well. All around, a very good game from Sonny. Again, I asked where the leaders were. Well, he's one of them. He stepped up.
Yeah, and I think that's a good way to put it. A live wire all game. Like, even though first half wasn't as great, I think he still was like playing the same sort of kind of energy levels like, we saw in the first half. And actually, that's what we said about the Brentford game, Dave, right? Was we saw the effort there. We saw the desire there. It's just like the qualities just sometimes just wasn't really there, as much from him in that game. He was just missing his shooting boots, just missing, his quality boots is probably what we say. This game, put on his world-class boots. That's what he did for this one, I would say. Yeah. But I think it was, really good, really well put there, Dave. Really well put. Harry Kane, I've given a 7. David, I'm going to be interested to see how he maneuvers this way into an 8. I would say in the Harry Kane scale, Dave, this is why I've given him a 7. What we know Harry Kane is capable of. I think he just wasn't really doing what we know he's capable of. So I've given him a 7. I think I even looked into some of the stats to back it up. He only played like 1 progressive pass, wasn't as high up there on the shot creating actions or the chances created. Had also, I think, the lowest passing percentage in the whole team, but that's because he plays all the passes that actually lead to big chances. So there's obviously a huge kind of asterisk that you have to kind of put to, his passing percentage, I think sometimes. But 0 key passes, I think, as well. So it just wasn't, I don't know, Dave, it's just some of those passes just didn't land. One of those shots that he took, to try to dink, Schmeichel just didn't land either. It just, I don't know, on the Harry Kane scale of, glory, I think it's a 7. I don't know, but I'll see how you maneuver this to an 8. I think they'll be excited.
Yeah, no, look, first of all, I want to start off by saying nowhere near Harry Kane's best game whatsoever. Nowhere near his best games. But 3 things, Jack. First of all, the timing of the goal. He doesn't open the scoring. That game's a complete different game, and it gets more and more nervous and more cagey as it goes on. But the fact that he was the one that, look, it's like something that just like keeps building, and the pressure behind it just keeps building, and you pop it with a pin and it just releases. That's what
like
Harry
the Ben Davies equalizer.
Exactly. It's the timing of the goal. It just releases everything, and then it allows everybody else around them just to calm down and just go about their job, rather than doing everything cagey, because we were very cagey up until that goal, Jack. We had lost momentum in that game, so the timing of the goal, absolutely crucial. So that bumps him up one. Again, I asked where the leaders are. He stands up, he gets me that goal to release the pressure. It's like a pressure cooker, Jack, where it just unleashes this load of smoke. That's what he done. Unbelievable. Second of all, I have to bring him up one just because he got a new haircut and he looked good. I mean, that's definitely worthy of a point, Jack. And then the third one is, I encourage people to go back and look. The amount of times he actually held up that ball to get us up the field cannot be underestimated. The amount of times backing him in, holding it up, and just getting us up the field. Again, bit like a pressure cooker, Jack. Just put the ball to Kane, he holds it up, it sticks, you get up the pitch. And for me, that's why I give him an 8.
Interesting, Dave. Interesting. I thought it was going to be a bit more powerful, thought it was going to be a bit more passionate, but, it's
I'm right. People agree with me. People in the comments, make sure you agree.
Let them know, everybody. Let you know what you think of that player rating. Especially, honestly, maybe you probably should have just said at the beginning, should have just zoomed forward, from the beginning, just to hear for that, logic. But Kuluszewski here, last one. Maybe we'll just quickly talk about the subs too, maybe while we finish up. But Kuluszewski, giving him an 8, Dave. I mean, unbelievable bits of skill throughout the entire game. The difference between him and Lucas was night and day. That's probably why, he gets the 8 and Lucas gets the 5. Just two separate halves of football, you could say. Lucas just absolutely wasted his moment. Kuluszewski took his, the moment he was dropped off the bench, absolutely seized it. Probably took that as a bit of motivation, as a bit of a wake-up call, maybe with some of the performances of recent. I'm not really sure if a lot of it was really his fault, the performances of recent, but surely, did plenty of things to impact this game. I think, in fact, they played a part in all the rest of the goals when you really look at it. Played a part in Sonny's goal, of course, probably as much as Sonny's ridiculous finish and kind of intelligence of finish. You have to also look at Kuluszewski's just ability to just gracefully dribble past 4 or 5 players across the 18 and then just slide that ball through, Dave, into Sonny as well. You could kind of, I guess, credit him with the assist as well for the third. But yeah, Dave, I think just the difference between him and Lucas, night and day. So gets an 8.
Yeah, I remember after 2 minutes of him coming on, I remember saying to people on the watch, I don't want to hear any more about Lucas Moura. People asking for him to start into it. Don't want to hear it anymore, because he done exactly what Lucas Moura was brought in to do. Look, I actually believe Antonio Conte got that decision wrong. Yes, you heard it here first. I am criticizing Antonio Conte for once. But that's because he started Lucas instead of Kulu. And the reason why is because he could have just rang me. And I would have said, look, what Lucas has produced over the last few years compared to what Kulu has done since he's come in, it's night and day. And no matter what Kulu's going through, Lucas should just not start. It just shouldn't happen. Like I said, hard work should be a minimum. But Kulu came on. What was the first thing he done, Jack? I don't know if you remember this, but he bet 4 or 5 players. And he just ended up slipping when he went to strike the ball and ended up going out. But that's the first impact he had. Second impact, I believe he created the goal. Just direct running and then gets the ball across, picks up the ball after Romero's tackles, and then direct running, gets the ball across to Sonny. And that's the result of it. Direct running, but with end product, slowing down at the crucial time to pick that pass or pick that final pass. Then another thing, the ball comes to him. He's right on the byline. You're thinking, well, why would someone pass it to him there? What's he supposed to do? On his bad foot, flicks it by him down the line, and then on his bad foot, sprays the ball over to the far side to Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg. Unbelievable bits of skill. And then the third goal, and I am giving him assist. I don't care. I mean, I couldn't care if I passed it 5 yards and someone took a 40-yard screamer and scored. I'm taking that assist all day long. It's an assist. You played the pass to allow him to do that. So, look, I actually think Kulu's impact was absolutely unbelievable coming off the bench. I do say I believe Conte got it wrong by not starting Kulu, because I just felt, and I even said this in the pre-match build-up, I feel the likes of Leicester, Liverpool, and Arsenal will actually suit Kulu, so I didn't want to see him drop. But in a way, it kind of worked because Kulu, and this is what I'm talking about, impact off the bench, Jack. Over the last couple of weeks, how many times have you heard me sit there referring to the likes of an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at United, but when he used to be the impact substitution, is when you're sitting on the bench, watching the game, understanding the game, looking at the game and understanding what you need to do, A, to have an impact, and spaces you need to be in where you can see a pattern where nobody is, and you start picking up the ball and making things happen. But Kulu came straight off the bench. None of this, I need 6-7 minutes just to do some 5-yard passes and feel my way into the game. Give me that ball. I'm going at them and I'm making an impact. And that's what I want to see from players. A fair play to the guy. I absolutely love that. He came on and took the game by the scruff of the neck, and he didn't have to. He didn't have to. He could have just had an excuse, like all of our other subs have had over the last while. And just, I need to feel my way into the game. I'm not happy because I didn't start. No, he came on right attitude. Give me that ball. I'll show you why I shouldn't be dropped, and I'll show you why I should be playing week in, week out. And that's all I've ever wanted from players coming off the bench. So thank you very much, Kulu. I appreciate that. Because you're showing to all Spurs fans that we should not be setting for mediocrity off the bench or in our starting lineup. You're showing that whether you start or coming off the bench, what it means to play in the Tottenham jersey and what you should be doing. So thank you.
Steven Bergwijn had another 8 minutes to do whatever. I mean, I don't think he even got really any opportunity. To do anything. He didn't even look happy really to come on whatsoever. Harry Winks also came on, Dave, and actually did make an impact, but towards the wrong end of the goal, in fact. What I would say, actually, Steven Bergwijn, Harry Winks, as well as Moon Boots, I would say take a bit of blame all for that, Kelechi Iheanacho goal, because Harry Winks is just atrocious, just gets beat inside just way too easily, and then is just incapable of even recovering after getting, beat inside. People can get beat inside, Dave, but usually they can make, a recovery of some kind after that. He just couldn't even find it within himself to make that 4-yard shuffle, to be able to make a recovery there. Moon Boots, just doesn't really step up very much, and then also, again, sort of turns, but I think he made his body big enough. It just barely skipped over, his heel there. He could have made the block, but again, sort of kind of just didn't show any urgency to, close the man down. And then as well, in the case of Bergwijn, once Iheanacho made that touch, Iheanacho, when you really look back at it, didn't know Bergwijn was just right there. Bergwijn just didn't really want to lunge in and win the ball there. So I think that's what Bottom Duda was talking about with, Bergwijn playing a part in that goal that Iheanacho scored. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the subs.
Look, for me, Steven Bergwijn, I think it's clear to see. I think everybody, I think he knows he's going to push for a move in this summer. He wants to get out and play before the World Cup. I think Conte probably knows that he'd probably end up letting him go this summer. I think they're just trying to see out the season, give him some game time, keep his value up, and keep clubs interested. In terms of Harry Winks, I mean, Jack, you text me for my player ratings. I put beside Harry Winks' transfer list. I mean, what he came on and done yesterday sums up exactly what I've talked about this guy from the very, very beginning of exactly what he does. Shit in midfield, doesn't want to tackle, turns like a roundabout, and just as soon as he plays, team score, and they come straight through the middle. What happens? He comes on, they come straight through the middle, and they score a goal, and he couldn't make his tackle and couldn't make the recovery one like you're talking about. So for me, bye-bye, Harry. Not good enough. You've in fact, in that 8 minutes, you've actually summarized what I've been talking about over the last 2 years. So I appreciate that. You've exposed yourself that you're not good enough in terms of going forward next season. But there you have it, guys. There is the player ratings. Let us know whether you agree or disagree with us below. Don't be afraid to get your player ratings in as well. And as always, guys, like, subscribe, comment, and we'll see you all back here soon. Come on, you Spurs. In Conte we trust.
Come on, you Spurs. In Conte we trust.